The Himalayas, a name that conjures images of towering peaks, endless snowfields, and a sense of awe that is hard to put into words. This majestic mountain range stretches across 5 countries, creating a natural barrier that has both protected and isolated the cultures within its embrace, a land of unforgiving beauty. Here, nature reigns supreme, and the landscape is as harsh as it is breathtaking. The rugged terrain, with its sharp peaks and serene valleys, tells a story of millennia of geological activity. Towering peaks pierce the sky, standing as silent sentinels over the land below. These mountains have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the ebb and flow of countless lives. Their icy breath chills you to the bone. The wind, relentless and unforgiving, carries with it the whispers of ancient legends and the promise of untold adventures. I was drawn here, as so many are, by the challenge, the allure of conquering these formidable peaks, of testing the limits of human endurance, is a call that few can resist, but also by the mystery. The Himalayas are a place where the line between reality and myth blurs, where every shadow and every sound seems to hold a secret. For in these mountains, legends say, walks a creature unseen by most, the Yeti. Known by many names across different cultures, this elusive being has captured the imagination of adventurers and locals alike for centuries. My team and I were on a mission. We were not just here to climb, we were here to uncover the truth behind the legend. Armed with the latest technology and a burning curiosity, we set out into the unknown. We were determined to find evidence of this elusive being. Every footprint, every strange noise, every unexplained phenomenon was a clue that we meticulously documented. We had heard the stories. Around campfires and in village squares, the tales of the Yeti were shared with a mix of fear and reverence. Local villagers spoke of a giant, hairy creature. They described it with such conviction that it was hard not to believe them. Their stories were filled with encounters that sent shivers down our spines. They said it roamed the high passes. These narrow, treacherous trails were its domain, and only the bravest or the most foolhardy dared to venture there. They called it the Abominable Snowman, a name that evokes both fear and fascination. The idea of such a creature existing in these remote, inhospitable regions was both thrilling and terrifying. We were skeptical, of course. In a world where science and technology have explained so much, the idea of an undiscovered creature seemed far-fetched. But the Himalayas have a way of making you question what you think you know. But something about the wildness of this place kept us going. We trekked for days. The air grew thinner. Each step was a reminder of the sheer scale and power of these mountains. Each step became a battle against the altitude. The thin air made every breath a struggle, and the cold sapped our strength. But we pressed on, driven by the promise of discovery. But the spirit of adventure, the thrill of the unknown, kept us moving forward. We were getting closer, we could feel it. The mountains seemed to be guiding us, revealing their secrets one step at a time. The stories we had heard, the warnings from the locals, they all pointed to one place, Kumbhakarna. This majestic peak, shrouded in mystery and legend, was our destination. It was here we believed that the truth would be revealed. Kumbhakarna. The name itself sent shivers down my spine, and a mountain shrouded in folklore. A place where they say the Yeti makes its home. The closer we got, the more the landscape seemed to close in on us. The air grew heavy, not just with the altitude, but with a sense of foreboding. The valleys echoed with the sound of our footsteps. The only other sounds were the wind howling through the peaks, and the occasional unsettling crack of ice. We were deep in Yeti territory now. Every shadow seemed to hold the potential for movement. Every rustle of leaves could be our quarry. Our Sherpa guides grew more and more uneasy. They had been born and raised in these mountains. They knew the stories were more than just stories. They could feel it too, the presence of something ancient, something powerful, something watching us. Setting up camp that night was a challenge. The temperature plummeted as the sun dipped below the horizon. The wind howled around us, biting at any exposed skin. We were exhausted, but we couldn't afford to make mistakes. Not here, not now. We pitched our tents in the lee of a giant boulder. It offered some protection from the elements, but it couldn't protect us from the feeling of vulnerability. We were small, insignificant creatures in this vast, unforgiving landscape. The stories the locals had told us swirled in my mind. Tales of lone travelers disappearing without a trace, of strange tracks found in the snow, of chilling howls echoing through the night. We huddled around our camp stove, eating our rations in silence. The only sounds were the crackle of the flames and the relentless wind. We were in the heart of the beast now, and the beast was aware of our presence. Section 4, Whispers in the Wind. The night was eerily quiet, save for the occasional gust of wind that seemed to carry with it secrets from the mountains. The moonlight cast long shadows over the snowy landscape, creating an almost surreal atmosphere. Sleep came in fits and starts. Every time I closed my eyes, I was jolted awake by the biting cold or the unsettling sounds outside. It was as if the very air was conspiring to keep me from finding any rest. The cold seeped into my bones, making every joint ache and every breath a struggle. I could feel the frost forming on my face, a stark reminder of the harsh environment I was in. The wind howled like a banshee outside the tent, its mournful wail echoing through the mountains. It was a sound that seemed to pierce through the fabric of the tent, reaching deep into my soul. But it was something else that kept jolting me awake, a sound, faint but unmistakable. A low growl, a shuffling sound. Something was out there, moving around our camp. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, and I strained my ears to catch any hint of what it could be. I unzipped the tent flap a fraction and peered out. The darkness outside was impenetrable, the snow reflecting what little light there was, creating an eerie glow. The moon was hidden behind clouds, casting the landscape into an even deeper shadow. The world outside seemed both vast and claustrophobic, the mountains looming like silent sentinels. The wind whipped snow into my face, stinging my skin and making it difficult to see. I could see nothing. The storm was intensifying, and visibility was almost zero, but the sound came again, closer this time. It was a deep, guttural growl that seemed to reverberate through the ground, sending vibrations up through my feet. A deep, guttural growl that seemed to shake the ground. It was unlike anything I had ever heard before, a primal sound that spoke of ancient fears and hidden dangers. I held my breath, listening intently. Every nerve in my body was on edge, my senses heightened by the adrenaline coursing through my veins. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end. It was a primal reaction, a deep-seated instinct that told me I was in danger. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. Was it my imagination? Was the altitude playing tricks on my mind? Or was there truly something out there, something that defied explanation? The effects of the altitude. The thin air made every breath a labor, and I wondered if my mind was conjuring up these sounds as a result of oxygen deprivation, or was it something else, something real, something terrifying? The thought gnawed at me, refusing to let go. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that something was out there lurking in the shadows. I zipped the tent flap closed, my hand trembling. The sound of the zipper seemed unnaturally loud in the stillness, a stark contrast to the muffled sounds outside. I lay there for what felt like hours, listening to the wind and the snow and the silence, waiting. Every creak of the tent, every gust of wind, every distant sound was magnified in the darkness. I was trapped in a cocoon of fear, unable to move, unable to sleep, waiting for the dawn to bring some semblance of safety. Section 5. Face to face with the legend. It happened so fast. 1 minute I was lying in my tent, trying to find some semblance of warmth in the biting cold of the Himalayan night. The wind howled outside, a constant reminder of the harsh environment we had ventured into. The snow crunched under the weight of the tent, creating an eerie symphony with the wind. The next, I was scrambling out, my heart pounding in my chest. The sudden noise had jolted me awake, and instinct took over. I fumbled with the zipper, my fingers numb from the cold, and finally managed to burst out into the frigid night. My senses on high alert, I scanned the surroundings. The moon cast an ethereal glow on the snow-covered landscape, making everything look both beautiful and menacing. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound amplified in the stillness of the night. A blood-curdling roar split the night. It wasn't the wind, it wasn't an animal, it was a sound that seemed to come from the depths of the earth, reverberating through my very bones. It was a roar that spoke of ancient power and untamed wilderness. This was something else entirely, something primal, something terrifying. The kind of sound that makes you question everything you thought you knew about the world. It was as if the mountains themselves had come alive, their ancient spirits awakened. There, standing in the moonlight, was a figure, towering over our camp. It was massive, easily twice the height of any man. Its presence was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a living embodiment of the legends we had heard whispered around campfires. Covered in thick dark hair that seemed to absorb the moonlight, making it appear even more otherworldly. The hair was matted and wild, a testament to the creature's life in the untamed wilderness. Its eyes, two burning embers in the darkness, locked onto mine. They glowed with an intensity that seemed to pierce through the night, holding me in a trance. Those eyes were not just looking at me, they were looking into me as if searching my very soul. The Yeti. It was real. The stories, the myths, the legends, they were all true. And here it was, standing before me, a living, breathing testament to the mysteries of the world. My breath caught in my throat. The air seemed to freeze in my lungs, and for a moment I couldn't move, couldn't think. The sheer impossibility of what I was seeing was overwhelming. Fear, raw and primal, surged through me. It was a fear that went beyond the physical, a fear that touched something deep within, something ancient and instinctual. My body trembled, not just from the cold, but from the sheer terror of the unknown. But there was something else too, awe. A sense of wonder that I had never felt before. Here was a creature that defied explanation, that stood as a testament to the mysteries of the natural world. It was like nothing I had ever seen before. Its presence was both terrifying and mesmerizing, a paradox that left me feeling both insignificant and privileged to witness such a sight. More powerful than any bear, its sheer size and strength were evident in every movement, every breath. It was a creature built for survival in the harshest of environments, more menacing than any wolf. There was an intelligence in its eyes, a cunning that spoke of a predator at the top of its food chain. It was a creature that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. It moved with a strange grace, its massive body seeming to glide over the snow. Each step was deliberate, each movement fluid and purposeful. It was a dance of power and elegance, a reminder of the beauty and brutality of nature, its massive body seeming to glide over the snow, leaving barely a trace. It was as if the snow itself parted to make way for this legendary being. We were frozen in place, our bodies refusing to move. The sheer presence of the Yeti held us captive, our minds struggling to process what we were witnessing, our minds struggling to comprehend what our eyes were seeing. It was a moment that defied logic, a moment that would be etched into our memories forever. This was the stuff of legends, the kind of story that would be told and retold, passed down through generations. A story that would become part of the fabric of our lives, and it was standing right in front of us, a living, breathing legend, challenging everything we thought we knew about the world. In that moment, we were not just witnesses, we were part of the legend itself.